Now, we will study about the uses and types of essay type test items. In this lecture, you would be able that what kind of essay type test items are we are using in the field of education and what kind of advantages of this kind of essay type test items we have. So, I start learning, please enjoy. Uses of essay type test. Evaluate the capacity to remember, arrange and incorporate concepts. So, these essay type test items are able and provide a kind of help to the teacher or to the evaluator that the capacity to remember, arrange and incorporate concepts. Examine the ability to write clearly and concisely and ability to supply information and assess student understanding of subject matter, measure the knowledge of factual information. So, these are the uses of essay type test items. Number 1 is to remember, to arrange and incorporate concepts. Number 2, how the learner is able to write clearly in a proper way and concisely, that is not writing the extending form that is not needed, but in a kind of organized way and in a concise way and very clear. Ability to supply information, it also helps to develop a kind of communication skills, or you can say the presentation skills among the learners, that how we are able to supply the information that we have related to that particular topic. Assess student understanding of subject matter, that how far the student is able to understand the content, at least the teacher can check it and can assess that student's understanding is up to mark, it is up to the satisfactory level or some kind of gaps are there. So, fill the gap. What kind of gap is there? Fill the gap by repeating the exercises or a kind of remedial classes where the student are not able to understand. So, this understanding of subject matter and teacher can understand that what kind of subject or what kind of extra knowledge should be needed here and what kind of understanding that needs further or the other exercises. Measure the knowledge of factual information. The factual information, that is in which year we got the independence, on which date we celebrate Independence Day. These are the dates, these are the kind of factual information. Sometime we ask the name of the person who proposed the project method. So, here the student will give the name only. So, these are the factual information and these factual information are universally truth. So, this kind of knowledge of factual information are also measured with the help of essay type test items. These tests are used to assess a student's understanding of a subject and their ability to think critically. Essay tests are used to evaluate students' higher level cognitive skills, such as the ability to compare and contrast, justify a position on a topic, interpret cases from the perspective of different theories or models, evaluate a claim or assertion with evidence, design an experiment and other higher level cognitive skills. So, the use of essay type test item is that higher order cognitive skills can be checked with the help of essay type test items. Say for example, when you are comparing two situations, when you are comparing two phenomena and contrast, justify a position on a topic, and when you are interpreting the cases from the perspective of different theories or models. So, these all kind of phenomena and the justification, this kind of comparison, this kind of interpretation, these all possible by using the essay type test items. So, the essay type test items are very useful in the case or in the question where the comparison is being asked by the evaluator, or in order to interpret few cases from the perspective of different theories or models and evaluate a claim or assertion with evidence, design, an experiment and other higher level cognitive skills. So, if you can understand that if a student is able to understand the content in deep and he is having a perfect knowledge, then he can compare, then he can associate, then he can interpret. So, higher order skills is assessed by the essay type test items, and it is possible only when the student has mastery over the content. So, when we have masters of that particular learning, then we can assess these kind of characteristics of any learner. Essay tests are used to assess a student's comprehensive understanding of a topic rather than just memorization. This is obvious that those who are only having the rote learning, they would never be able to write in a coherent organization, they would never be able to write in own words, there will be no originality, there will be no creativity, and the evaluator can assess that it is only based on rote memory. So, the use of essay type test is that to assess that how far the student is trying to express himself in own words with own originality, own creativity, and a kind of comprehension that can also be checked and assessed with the help of essay type test. And it is not the memorization that what is teacher is asking, and after rote learning the student is producing on the paper. So, it never encourages rote memory, but it encourages the kind of originality, a kind of own expression, and it provides a kind of freedom to the learners to write in your own words. Essay tests are particularly effective in disciplines like literature, philosophy, history, where personal interpretation and critical analysis are important. So, somewhere it is also needed that you present a critical appraisal of that particular text. So, essay type are used to present the critical appraisal, to review the content, and also like the literature, philosophy, history, these are the subject where the knowledge is required in own words, where the understanding is required in own words. The learner can't write in, can't give a certain kind of clue that what do you mean by this, no. Here expression is compulsorily to be presented by the learner. So, few subjects are subjects that need explanation, that need a kind of justification, arguments. So, these subjects always are used, these subjective kind of test items are used to assess these subjects, literature, philosophy and history. So, subjective kind of test items having own importance, and we can't ignore these items, and these items are particularly used to assess those subjects that having a certain kind of judgment, having certain kind of logical reasoning, and having certain kind of creativity, a kind of originality, and a kind of comparison, kind of association. So, these tests are used in such kind of conditions and very useful subjective test. We are also trying to put its importance in the field of education, because students' expression, students' communication, students' originality, students' opinions, these all are needed, and these all help to provide a kind of idea and a kind of opinion that how far we are able to put the effective teaching learning system, and the effectiveness can be checked with the help of these subjective type tests. So, now we have studied the uses of subjective type test. What are the uses? That we try to understand the originality of ideas, we try to understand the creativity of the students, we try to understand the presentation skill of the students, we try to understand how far the students are able to put these all the ideas in such a systematic and coherent way. So, apart from these, we are also using these essay type test items where the subjects that need certain kind of arguments, certain kind of critical appraisal, and certain kind of reasoning and judgment, that subjects are history, philosophy, and literature. So, now we will study about the types of essay type test. Norman Groundland 1985 divided essay type questions into the following two categories. Restricted response questions. Such questions limit both the content and the response. The limitation on the form of response is provided by the examiner in the question itself. They are more suitable to check the ability to explain cause-effect relationships, describe application of principles, present relevant arguments, formulate measurable hypotheses, make valid conclusions, and explain methods and procedures. So, restricted response questions. Such questions limit both the content and the response. So, the limitation on the form of response is provided by the examiner in the question itself, that you have to write your answer in 200 words, that you have write to causes only, that you have to write the reasons only. So, there is a kind of restriction from the side of the examiner that you want to check your knowledge only of the reasoning, only of the judgment, only of the causes of that particular phenomena. So, the learner is restricted and there is no freedom to write the experiences or write to expressions, including all other kind of associated situation. No, there is no freedom, only you are restricted to write limited words just to explain the particular reasoning may be related to any phenomena. Restricted response questions place strict limits on the answers to be given as defined. As I told you, give the instructions very clear that you have to give in answers in 200 words and give the very clear instructions that you have to complete this within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So, the limit of the words and limit of the time both are considered here. Subject matter boundaries are specifically established by the problem and the answers from it. Used to indicate terms like list, define and give response. So, in what way we formulate the questions, essay type test, that list the objects that are needed to perform this experiment. So, only the list will be given by the examinee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and define the word environment. So, only the word environment is to be defined by the students, not the other words, not the associated words, only the defined environment. So, now the learner is restricted and he has to give in the answer in few words and he has to explain that what the examiner is asking, write it in a kind of paragraphs or associating or organizing 1 or 2 paragraphs and give response. So, these all instructions are given before this presenting this essay type test and instructions are very clear. Give the answer of this question or give the reason of this phenomena in 200 words or list the items needed in that particular experiment. Give the reason of this particular happening. So, the question should be very clear. If you want restricted words, if you want a kind of accurate answer from the side of the learner, so the teacher or the evaluator should keep in mind that the instruction should be very clear so that the students can give the answers accordingly. Example, explain the relative advantages of essay questions and selection type items for gauging understanding level, learning results. Keep your response to a single page. So, only one page is provided to the examinee and he has to giving the answer within this page. So, this kind of restricted kind of test items are also very useful because if we give the freedom, sometime it happens that the learner starts writing from one page to the so many pages and the words supplied by the examinee found no relevance with the question and he made a complaint that I could not get the good marks, even I have written 10 pages. So, this kind of complaint sometime is not worthy because examinee is not understanding that what the examiner wants to ask. First you go or see the question very clear that what is being asked by the examiner, then you start writing the reply. So, this kind of essay type test items are very useful for assessing the knowledge and understanding of the students along with the higher order skills, that is analysis, synthesis and evaluation. But when the restriction is giving, then that should be in such a way that instruction should be followed strictly by the learner. Advantages of restricted type response questions. More structure is seen in restricted response questions and assess certain learning objectives. Assessment is made easier with restricted responses. A restricted answer essay question can measure any of the same outcomes as an objective interpretive exercise. So, now I will start explaining what I want to say. More structure is seen in restricted response questions, that the question is given in such a way that the instructions are given in very clear terms. Assess certain learning objectives, that we have Bloom's taxonomy. So, we want to assess few objectives as per the Bloom's taxonomy, that is we want to check the knowledge, we want to check the understanding, we want to check the analysis, synthesis and higher order skills of the students, and we also want to check how the student is having the interest. So, the another example of the same situation can be asked just to know that whether the student is able to apply this particular reason to the another situation. And the skills, to check the psychomotor skills, we can give a kind of question that draw this particular picture on your copy, and we can assess that whether the student is able to draw this particular diagram. Say for example, draw a structure of eye and indicate what is the name of that particular organ. So, the student will draw the diagram and he will indicate what is this is retina, this is a kind of another membrane, this is other walls of the eyes. So, he will try to frame or he will try to draw these diagram. So, this restricted answer essay questions can measure any of the same outcomes and objective interpretive exercises. So, we can assess the objective kind of assessment in objective manner with the help of the subjective test. So, this advantages of restrictive type response question is also a kind of benefit for the evaluator to understand that how far the student has got the knowledge in a form of mastery learning. Limitations of restricted response questions. Restricted response question restricts the scope of the topic to be discussed and indicating the nature of the desired response, which limits student opportunity to demonstrate these behaviors. So, a kind of discussion, a kind of desired response we can check with the help of this restricted response questions. Extended response essay questions. Students can choose information they believe is relevant, arrange their responses using their own best judgment, and integrate and assess ideas as they see fit when they are asked extended response questions. So, student can choose information they believe is relevant, arrange their responses, and they can make a kind of paragraph or this kind of answer. They do not place restrictions on how long or what can be discussed. So, they do not have any kind of restrictions that in what way he has to present. He is free to give the answer, but is in the restricted form. Example, how I spent my winter vacation. Such questions are most appropriate when our objective is to test writing skills including conceptualization, organization, analysis, synthesis and evaluation, giving the student maximum choice regarding topic. So, when we are free to give the students to express yourself, so we can give the questions in an appropriate manner that to test writing skills including conceptualization, organization, analysis, synthesis and evaluation, and giving the student maximum choice regarding topic. Advantages of extended response questions. The kind of essay question is most suited for assessing learning results at the higher cognitive level of educational goals such as evaluation, synthesis and analysis. So, they highlight the disparities in attitude, values and creative capacities among individuals. Limitations of extended response questions, but there are few limitations also. They are insufficient for evaluating knowledge of factual data because they demand in-depth information in a small number of subject area at once. Since the examinees have free will in the array of factual information of varying degrees of correctness, coherence and expression. Scoring such responses is typically challenging and unreliable. One examiner is saying that this is of 2 out of 5. Another is saying no, we may give 3. So, there is variation in scoring procedure also. So, sometime it happening that it become very challenging that what should be the assessment of the student in considering the external and internal evidences. So, the less reliability sometime we find in this kind of extended response questions. These are the sources that we have mentioned here, and along with sources you can understand that what are the limitation of extended response questions. Though we have mentioned here that what kind of limitations are there, but sometime you may go through other kind of sources and you may have your own ideas also that how can we prepare the restricted kind of questions in a reliable form, and how can we frame these questions so that the reliability can be increased. So, this extended response questions are very good in nature and they provide a kind of pinpointed information from the side of the examinee, but sometimes it happens that there is scoring procedure is different from one examiner to the another. So, this responses or this kind of evaluation of the extended response questions may be rely better by putting the instructions in such a way that it gives correct idea and it gives the correct information from the side of the learner. So, no doubt that we are having certain limitations, but we can overcome these or limitations by putting the instructions in clear terms. So, today we have studied about the uses of this subjective type test items, and we also studied regarding the extended response questions where the instructions is given and the student is not free to give the answer in so many pages, but the instructions are given in very clear terms that you will have to give in 50 words and you will have to reply within this word limit, and the page is provided to you, you have to give your answer in only one page. So, that is restriction is here. So, this kind of response, this kind of questions are known as restricted response questions, and these are very helpful to know the critical appraisal, just to ask the few definitions or just to factual information, to get the factual information from the side of the learner. So, these kind of extended response questions are useful in terms of knowing or in terms of collecting the factual information from the part of the learner, and just to supply few words on the part of the learner, so the examiner can assess what kind of in-depth knowledge the learner has. So, it is all about today's lecture, and I do believe that you could be able to understand uses of this kind of essay type test, and you would be able to understand the kind of limitation and somewhere how far we can use and how far we can increase and we can raise the reliability of extended response questions. So, thank you very much. Be happy and be healthy. Thank you very much.